Take a breath. Hold it in. Now let it go. Because what you're about to hear isn't a motivational speech. It's a mental reset. You see, most people spend their lives chasing money, hoping it shows up like some unexpected blessing. But the truth? Wealth doesn't arrive. It's built. Day by day, step by step, thought by thought. And the first step isn't a bigger paycheck. It's not a side hustle or an investment portfolio. It's the decision to think financially. That's right. Think. Because before you can earn more, save more, or invest more, you have to think like someone who builds wealth, instead of someone who constantly chases it. Most people live by accident. They drift, spend what they earn, react to problems, hope for promotions, and at the end of the year, wonder why they're stuck. But there's a different way. And it starts with what you believe about money, what you practice daily, and how you choose to use your time. This isn't about get-rich-quick schemes. This is about long-term mastery, about learning to build wealth with intention, consistency, and strategy. Because here's the truth. You don't get wealthy just by working harder. You get wealthy by working smarter, thinking strategically, and moving through life with financial clarity. In the next few minutes, we're going to walk through 10 key principles. Not theory, not fluff, but the real psychology of building a financial life you don't need a vacation from. We'll talk about net worth, how to measure it, why it matters, and how to grow it. We'll tackle debt, not just how to escape it, but how to transform it into discipline. We'll explore time, how to buy it back, guard it ruthlessly, and use it to scale your life. And we'll go deep into habits, how small, daily decisions create unshakable financial confidence over time. This isn't the kind of message that hypes you up. It's the kind that wakes you up. Because one day, you'll look back and realize this moment, right now, was the moment you stopped waiting for life to reward you and decided to build your reward system from the inside out. So if you're ready to stop drifting, if you're ready to take back control of your time, your energy, and your future, then keep listening. Let's begin the journey to wealth, not just as an outcome, but as a way of thinking. Let me ask you a question most people avoid. What is your net worth? Not your income, not your job title, not your car, your clothes, or how successful you look on the outside. I mean your actual net worth, the simple but brutally honest number that tells you exactly where you stand financially. Now don't panic. Most people don't know the answer. In fact, they go out of their way not to know, because knowing the truth means facing it, and for a lot of people, the truth feels uncomfortable. But let me tell you something. The wealthy know that most never learn. You cannot grow what you never measure. You cannot master what you refuse to confront. That's why your journey to wealth doesn't begin with earning more. It begins with clarity, crystal clear awareness of where you are today. Let's break it down. Net worth is simple. What you own minus what you owe. Assets minus liabilities. That's it. It's not a judgment. It's not a sentence. It's just data. But the moment you write it down, the moment you stop guessing and start calculating, something shifts inside you. You go from wondering to waking up. Because now you've got a scoreboard. Now you've got a starting line. Let me walk you through this, step by step. Open a notebook, a spreadsheet, or your favorite finance app, and make 2 lists. List 1, assets. What do you own that holds value? Checking and savings accounts, emergency fund investments, stocks, crypto, retirement accounts, your home, if you own it, your car, if it's worth more than what you owe, valuable collectibles, any businesses or side hustles with actual value. Write it all down. Be precise. Round down if you must, but be honest. Now add it up. That's your total assets. List 2. Liabilities. Now for the hard part. This is what you owe. Credit cards, student loans, auto loans, mortgage, personal loans. Any other debts, big or small, write every single one down, no matter how small or how embarrassing. This is where the shift happens, because this is where most people run. They hide from the number. They say, it's not that bad. They call it manageable. But let me tell you something. There's no growth in denial. There's only drift. Now subtract your total liabilities from your total assets. What you're left with is your net worth. Maybe it's positive, maybe it's negative, maybe it's shockingly low. It doesn't matter. You're not doing this to feel good. You're doing this to get free. Because once you know your number, you unlock 2 powers. 1. Financial focus. Before this, money felt like fog. You knew it came in and went out, but you couldn't see the patterns. Now suddenly it's clear. You stop saying, I need to make more, and you start asking, where is my money actually going? And that question changes everything. 2. Measurable progress. You've created a scoreboard, and just like any winning team, you now have a way to track your game. You can check your net worth monthly. Even if it only grows by $50 or $100, it's growing. That growth becomes addictive. And over time, that $100 turns into $1,000, then $10,000. Why? Because your confidence compounds with your money. I remember the first time I tracked my own net worth. It wasn't impressive. In fact, it was humbling. There was more month than money, more bills than peace. But I didn't get discouraged. I got determined. I set a goal. Grow my net worth by 5% per month. Not by earning more, but by managing better. That meant paying down debt, avoiding impulse purchases, and funneling any extra toward building instead of draining. And each time that number ticked up, so did my belief in myself. Because I wasn't chasing a fantasy anymore. I was building evidence. And that evidence became power. You see, the wealthy don't operate on feelings. They operate on numbers. They make decisions based on data, because numbers don't lie. When you know your net worth, you don't have to hope. You know. You know if you're improving. You know if you're slipping. You know exactly where to adjust. And that, my friend, is where real power begins. So here's your first challenge. Before the day ends, calculate your net worth. Get the number. Write it down. Update it monthly. Let it become your truth. And let that truth set you free. Because once you know where you stand, you can decide where you want to go. And every small step becomes measurable. That's how wealth is built. Not with hype, not with luck, but with clarity. When most people hear the word budget, something inside them tightens. They think of sacrifice, restriction, going without. But what if I told you that's not how the wealthy see it? What if I told you that true wealth doesn't come from depriving yourself, but from directing your resources with purpose? Most people don't have a money problem. They have a clarity problem. They feel broke not because they lack income, but because they spend without awareness. Their money leaks out through 1,000 tiny holes, and at the end of the month, they shrug and say, I don't know where it all went. But that changes today. Because the truth is, you don't need to feel poor to take control of your spending. You need to see your money through a lens of strategy, not survival. Let's start with this exercise, one I've taught to people from all walks of life. Pull up your latest bank or card statement and start labeling every expense using 4 simple buckets. 1. Essentials. These are the non-negotiables. Your rent or mortgage, groceries, utilities, gas, anything you truly need to function and live safely. 2. Growth. These are the investments in your future. Books, courses, coaching, gym membership, business tools, anything that expands your mind, your skill set, or your income potential. 3. Luxury. These feel good, but they're not essential. Dining out, streaming subscriptions, new gadgets, daily coffee shop runs. You get the idea. 4. Waste. This is where the pain hides. Impulse buys, late fees, stuff you never used, things that added no value to your life at all. Go through the entire month and tag every single dollar into one of these 4 categories. At first, it might feel tedious, but then something happens. You start seeing patterns. You see that luxury isn't the enemy. Waste is. You see that you're not overspending on what you love. You're bleeding money on things you don't even remember buying. This is what I call the financial awakening, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. And now, we don't cut everything. We cut intentionally. Here's the golden rule. Never start by slashing the whole budget. Start by trimming the waste. I once mentored a young man who was constantly short on cash. Not broke, just scattered. He made decent money, but somehow, every month, felt tight. We did this exact exercise. Turned out he was spending over $300 a month on fast food, unused subscriptions, and random app purchases, not because he was careless, but because he was unconscious. Once he saw it, he cut the waste. And you know what happened? He didn't feel deprived. He felt empowered. And that's the difference between sacrifice and strategy. Let's go one step deeper. Let's say you love dining out. It's your way of relaxing, socializing, or celebrating the wins in your week. I'm not going to tell you to stop, but I will tell you to delay. Instead of 3 nights out a week, try 1, but make that one night special. Dress up, invite someone you care about, make it an experience. Now you're not losing luxury, you're making it intentional. And the money you save, give it a mission. Put it into a separate account. Label it growth or investments. Watch it build. Let those dollars go to work for your future self. Because here's a psychological truth. When your money starts working harder than you do, you stop feeling like a victim and start feeling like a builder. Most people associate cutting back with pain because they've never connected it to purpose. But when you cut waste to fuel your dreams, when you delay gratification to build something bigger, you don't feel lack, you feel power. That's what happened to me years ago. I sold a few things. I cancelled the cable. I cooked more meals at home. Not because I was broke, but because I had a bigger dream. I didn't want Netflix. I wanted freedom. I didn't want the newest phone. I wanted my money to compound. And let me tell you, it worked. What felt like sacrifice at the time became the foundation of my wealth today. So if you want to cut spending without feeling poor, remember this. You're not giving up your lifestyle. You're upgrading your mindset. Trim the waste. Delay the luxuries. Spend with intention. And most importantly, give every dollar a job. Because when your money has a mission, wealth doesn't just become possible. It becomes predictable. Let's talk about money. Not the kind that comes from clocking in and out. Not the kind you beg for with resumes and interviews. I'm talking about the kind of income that comes from value, from leverage. Now I know what you're thinking. You've probably heard people scream on social media, make $10,000 a month from home. Just launch this course, flip this, post that. But let's get one thing straight. The internet is not a miracle machine. It's a marketplace. And marketplaces don't reward hype. They reward solutions. So here's the shift I want you to make right now. Stop asking, how can I make money online? Start asking, what problem have I already solved that others are still struggling with? You don't need to be a guru. You don't need 1 million followers. You don't need a studio, a funnel, or a marketing degree. You need one thing, a transformation you've lived through. Let me give you examples. Maybe you lost weight naturally, and people ask how. Maybe you overcame burnout in your 9 to 5. Maybe you figured out how to organize your chaotic schedule, manage anxiety, or build discipline. Maybe you ran a business that failed. And now you know what not to do. You've got a lesson, a method, a path someone else is dying to find. That's your product. That's your service. That's your course, your guide, your ebook, your voice. Because someone, somewhere, is searching for exactly what you've already solved. But they don't want a celebrity. They want a guide, someone a few steps ahead. I once mentored a man who worked in construction for over 10 years. No formal education, no branding, but he had a system, one he'd developed through real sweat, for estimating jobs, managing crews, and finishing projects under budget. I said, package that. He did, wrote a simple guide, recorded a no-frills video series, sold it online to independent contractors like himself. No hype, no fluff, but it sold. Why? Because it was practical, honest, and real. The marketplace doesn't reward perfection, it rewards relevance. Now here's your next step. Take out a journal and write down a list of problems you've personally faced and overcome. Circle the one that people ask you about the most. That's your starting point. Now pause. Don't build a fancy website. Don't film a 10-module course. Not yet. Validate first. Make a short post about your solution. Record a video explaining your process. Tweet it. Share it in a group. Put it in a newsletter. Ask a simple question. If I created this, would you be interested? If you get crickets, don't panic. Tweak the message. Make the pain more real. Speak to the version of you who was stuck. But if you get curiosity, if even one person says, I'd buy that, then build version 1. Keep it simple. A PDF, a Harom video mini course, a group coaching call. You don't need complexity, you need momentum. Here's something the wealthy understand. Version 1 is never version final. They don't wait for perfect. They release, refine, and relaunch. I've seen people spend 6 months building the perfect offer and never release it. Meanwhile, someone with a $10 idea and the courage to hit post builds a business. Why? Because action beats theory, and the market becomes your best teacher. Let's talk about pricing. Start low, not because your value is low, but because you're testing, you're building proof, you're getting testimonials, you're building trust. As your confidence and your offer improve, raise the price, add bonuses, offer tiers, create group versions, and suddenly, that small seed, that idea you doubted, becomes an income stream. Now let's get deeper. When you earn your first $10 from leverage, not from labor, something breaks inside you. In a good way. You realize you're not limited to trading time for money. You can trade insight, process, perspective, experience. And that, my friend, is the first true step towards scalable wealth. You stop asking, how can I make more hours? And start asking, how can I make one idea work for me even while I sleep? This is not a dream. It's not luck. It's not for other people. It's for you. If you're willing to look inside instead of chasing what's outside. So what's your transformation? What have you learned the hard way that someone else could learn easier because of you? That's your digital asset. That's your first step toward income with leverage. And once you make that first dollar online, you'll never look at money the same way again. Debt. It's the silent weight most people carry. They don't talk about it at parties. They don't post about it on social media. But it's there, always, hanging in the background like a fog they've learned to live with. They say, it's normal. Everyone has debt. This is just how life works now. But let me ask you something. If debt is so normal, why does it feel so heavy? Why do you wake up at night thinking about payments? Why does your heart race when you see a new bill? Why do you avoid logging into your account? Because the numbers feel like judgment. Here's the truth. No one told you. Debt is not just a financial problem. It's a psychological prison. And the longer you carry it, the more it shapes how you feel. About your money, about your future, about yourself. But what if I told you that very same debt, that thing that's been keeping you stuck, could become the greatest source of discipline, focus, and momentum in your life? It all starts with one shift. You stop reacting and you start planning. Because here's what the broke mindset does. It pays the minimum, avoids the statement, shuffles balances around, tries to breathe but never gets ahead. But the wealthy, they look their debt in the eye. They face it, all of it, with clarity and intention. So let's do that. Step 1. List every single debt you owe. Not roughly. Not, I think it's around. Exactly. Write it down. All of it. Credit cards, student loans, personal loans, auto loans, mortgage, back taxes, family debt. But here's the key. Don't list them by interest rate. I know what the math says, but this is not just about math. This is about psychology. You need wins. So list your debts from smallest balance to largest. Because when you knock out that first debt quickly, something powerful happens inside you. You taste victory. You get a hit of progress. And progress, no matter how small, fuels belief. Now keep paying the minimum on every debt, except the smallest. That one, you go to war. Sell something. Pick up a weekend gig. Pause your luxuries. Redirect every extra dollar you can find and crush that first debt. And when it's gone, you don't celebrate with a shopping spree. You roll that freed up payment into the next debt. That's your snowball. And when the snowball rolls, it builds speed. It builds power. It builds you. I remember coaching a couple buried in over $38,000 of debt. They weren't lazy. They had income, but they had no plan. Bills stressed them. Fights were constant. Progress felt impossible. We did this exact process. Their smallest debt, a $500 store credit card. They sold an old bike, skipped vacation, cut subscriptions. They paid it off in 3 weeks. Then we took that freed up $150 a month and attacked the next debt. And the next, and the next. 17 months later, they were completely debt-free. But that wasn't even the best part. They didn't just kill the debt. They built financial character. They became focused, disciplined, aligned. That's what this process gives you. You're not just getting rid of debt. You're learning how to master money. Because here's the real secret. Once that final debt is gone, you take the snowball, the energy, the payments, the discipline, and you redirect it. You roll it into investing, into savings, into real growth. The same intensity you used to dig the hole now builds your financial house. It's not just about being debt-free, it's about being free, period. Let me be clear, I'm not here to shame you for your debt. I've had it, felt it, feared it. But I'm telling you, debt doesn't have to define you. It can shape you, strengthen you, harden your resolve. Because when you learn how to kill debt, you learn how to control cash. And if you can control cash, you can build wealth. Don't wait for a raise. Don't wait for help. Don't wait for the right time. Start now. Face every number. Set the order. Build the plan. And attack. Because every dollar of debt you eliminate is a brick removed from the wall between you and financial freedom. You don't need a miracle. You need a method. And this is that method. So grab your list. Write it out. And start the momentum. Because the snowball won't start itself. But once it rolls, it doesn't stop. Let me ask you something simple but sobering. Whose calendar are you really living on? Is it yours, or is it full of things you feel obligated to do for everyone but you? Because here's the truth. No one teaches you growing up. You can always make more money, but you can never make more time. And yet, what do most people do with this most precious resource? They fill it with errands, with chores, with distractions that pretend to be important, with $10 per hour tasks when they're capable of $100 per hour decisions. And then they wonder why they're always exhausted, why success feels out of reach, why they never feel ahead, only busy. Let me say this clearly. You will never reach your full financial potential by spending your best hours on low-value tasks. Let me show you what the wealthy do differently. They don't just ask, how can I get more done? They ask, is this the highest use of my time? When you begin to think this way, you start seeing time not as something to spend, but something to invest. I'll be honest with you. There was a time when I thought doing everything myself made me hard-working. I mowed the lawn, cleaned the house, grocery shopped 3 times a week, managed every inbox, planned every detail. It felt responsible. But the truth? I was just busy being broke. I had filled my schedule, but emptied my strategy. One day it hit me like a punch to the chest. I was spending 90% of my time on things that someone else could do better, faster, and cheaper. That was the moment I made a new rule, one that changed my life. If someone else can do a task for less than what I aim to earn per hour, I delegate it. Not because I'm lazy, but because I'm building. Now let me be clear. Buying back your time doesn't start when you're rich. It starts when you realize your time is already valuable. You don't wait to buy it back someday. You start now, even in small ways. Hire someone to clean your space once a month. Use a grocery delivery app. Automate your bills. Use calendar links instead of chasing people through email. Batch your tasks. Eliminate what doesn't move the needle. Every minute you reclaim, you reinvest, not in scrolling, but in building, in learning, in thinking, in recovering, in strategy. Let me give you a real example. I once coached a young woman who ran a small online store. She did everything herself: packing, shipping, customer service, marketing, inventory. She was talented, driven, but exhausted and broke. I had her do one thing: hire a virtual assistant for 5 hours a week. That gave her 5 hours back, and she used those hours to work on marketing and product development. 6 months later, her income tripled. Not because she worked harder, but because she worked smarter. That's what wealthy people do. They don't just hustle harder, they build systems, they build teams, they build leverage, and they buy back their time, one task at a time. But let me give you a deeper truth. Don't just buy back time to make more money. Buy it back to live well. Use it to strengthen your relationships, take care of your health, invest in your peace, create rest, dream. Because if your calendar is full of grinding and empty of joy, you're not building wealth, you're building a cage. Wealth isn't just freedom of money, it's freedom of time. It's waking up on your terms, spending your energy where it matters most, and knowing that every hour you own is an asset that compounds just like money. So here's your challenge. Look at your week. Circle every task that could be done by someone else. Calculate the cost of outsourcing it. Then calculate what 1 hour of your highest value work could earn. If the value of your time exceeds the cost, buy it back. And never waste that hour. Use it to build the future. Because the person who's always grinding may win today, but the person who builds systems and reclaims their time multiplies forever. Most people think financial confidence comes from hitting a big number: 6 figures, 7 figures, a fancy car, a big house. But let me tell you the truth. Financial confidence doesn't come from what you drive. It comes from what you do daily. It's not a gift. It's not luck. It's a muscle, and you build it one rep at a time. That's why the people who win with money over the long term aren't the ones chasing jackpots. They're the ones doing small, smart things over and over again until those actions become identity. I've worked with hundreds of people who said, "I'm just not good with money. I've always been bad at this. I make it, but I can't seem to keep it." And I always ask them the same thing. Can you tell me one money decision you made this week? That was smart. And you know what? They always can. They cooked instead of ordering takeout. They walked away from an unnecessary purchase. They paid extra on their credit card. They read one chapter of a money book. And as they talk, they start to smile. Their shoulders relax. Because suddenly they're not someone who's bad with money. They're someone who's already changing. That's the power of awareness. So here's a simple habit that changes everything. Every evening, before bed, write down 3 things. One thing you earned today. Maybe it's your wage, a freelance job, a small sale, passive income, or even interest that landed in your account while you slept. It doesn't have to be big. It just has to be real. One thing you learned about money, maybe from a book, a podcast, a mistake, a conversation, a video like this one. It could even be as simple as, I learned I overspend when I'm tired. One wise decision you made with your money. You skipped that impulse buy. You paid a bill early. You moved $50 into savings. You unsubscribed from a service you never use. That's it. 3 things. Each night. It takes 5 minutes, but it rewires your brain. Because instead of going to sleep with stress or guilt about money, you go to sleep with evidence. Evidence that you're learning, that you're growing, that you're in control. And over time, those little proofs, they stack. They form a wall of self-trust that nothing can shake. Let me tell you about a man I worked with. Early 40s, 2 kids, drowning in debt, terrified of opening his mail. He told me, I've always been terrible with money. My dad was. My brothers are. It's just who I am. But I had him do this journaling practice every night for 30 days. At the end of the month, we reviewed his notebook. He had made 26 smart decisions, learned 18 meaningful lessons, earned money 29 days out of 30. And when I read it back to him, he cried. Not because of shame, but because it was the first time in his life he had seen himself as someone who could change. That's what this practice is about. Not perfection, not numbers that impress people, but identity transformation. You see, the person who builds wealth is not someone born different. It's someone who believes, I can make good decisions, I can learn, I can grow. And that belief comes not from motivation, but from daily proof. When you track your wins, you multiply them. You give your brain a reason to keep winning. You reinforce the behavior that builds a different future. You stop reacting to money emotionally and start managing it intentionally. That's discipline. And discipline is freedom. Because when you consistently make better choices, you no longer need to fear money. You control it. You direct it. You command it. So here's your challenge. Tonight, before bed, write your 3 money wins. They can be small, they can be quiet. They can be things no one else would notice, but you'll notice. And that noticing, that's how financial confidence is born. And soon, you won't be the person who says, I hope I can get ahead. You'll be the person who says, I'm already on my way. Most people fail with money, not because they don't care, but because their goals are too far away to feel real. They say things like, I want to be wealthy. I want to retire early. I want financial freedom. Those are good desires, but vague goals are dangerous. They inspire dreams, but produce no direction. And let me be clear, wealth is not built on dreams. It's built on plans. That's why the most powerful tool in your financial journey is not a spreadsheet. It's a 90-day plan. Why 90 days? Because 90 days is the sweet spot. It's long enough to produce real change, but short enough to maintain urgency. It keeps the fire hot. It forces you to stop drifting and start moving. You don't need a 5-year plan to begin. You just need the next 90 days locked in. Let me walk you through how to build one. Step 1. Set one clear financial goal, not 5. Not vague ideas. One number, one mission. Ask yourself, do I want to save $3,000? Pay off $2,000 in debt? Make my first $1,000 online? Invest my first $500? Build a $1,500 emergency fund? Whatever it is, make it real, specific, and measurable. This is your target, your finish line, your proof of progress. Put it on your wall, your mirror, your phone screen. Burn it into your brain, because when you wake up every morning with a number in front of you, you stop wasting energy and start making moves. Step 2. Break it down monthly. Let's say your goal is to save $3,000 in 90 days. That's $1,000 a month, roughly $33 a day. Suddenly, it doesn't feel impossible. It feels trackable. You're no longer saying, I want more money. You're saying, I need $33 of intentional behavior today. You see the shift? Step 3. Identify weekly action steps. Here's where the rubber meets the road. Each week you write down specific actions that will move the needle. Cancel unused subscriptions, week 1. Sell something I don't use, week 2. Offer a freelance gig online, week 3. Set a spending cap on restaurants, week 4. These aren't ideas, they're actions, because ideas inspire, but actions compound. Plan out the 12 weeks. Yes, all of them. You don't need to know every detail now, but you need a roadmap. Think of it like GPS. You may not know every turn, but you know the next one, and that keeps you going. Step 4. Build a visible tracker. Here's where the psychology kicks in. Get a whiteboard, a sheet of paper, a giant calendar, or a simple digital tracker. Whatever works for you. But make sure you can see it daily, because nothing motivates like progress made visible. Every time you hit a milestone, mark it, highlight it, check it off. You want your brain to associate progress with dopamine, because that's what keeps you coming back. Step 5. Review weekly. Adjust ruthlessly. Each week, sit down and ask, what worked? What didn't? Where did I drift? What needs to change? Don't beat yourself up. Adjust. Refocus. Get sharper. Because this isn't about perfection, it's about course correction. The goal isn't just to hit the number, it's to become someone who knows how to hit goals consistently. Now let me tell you what makes this 90-day plan so powerful. It gives you a sense of urgency without panic. It turns someday into today. It puts time on your side. Most people let 3 months pass and have no idea where their money went. But you're tracking it. You're aiming it. You're directing every dollar with intention. And when you do that consistently, you build financial identity, not just a win, but the mindset of a winner. I still remember the first 90-day plan I created. I didn't have much money, no big job, no connections, but I made a goal: pay off $2,000 in credit card debt. That meant $667 per month, roughly $22 a day. I tracked everything, sold my guitar, skipped takeout, picked up a few freelance projects, made a checklist and checked it daily. 90 days later, goal hit. But what changed the most wasn't my bank account. It was how I saw myself. I stopped saying, I hope I get ahead, and started saying, I know how to make progress. That's the real power of the 90-day plan. It turns hope into habit. And habits? They turn average people into wealth builders. So if you've ever felt like money is random, that you're stuck, that no matter how hard you try, it slips through your fingers, this is your moment. Don't overthink it. Don't wait for the first of the month. Start now. Pick your number. Break it down. Plan your weeks. Track daily. Adjust weekly. Finish strong. Because you're not just learning how to handle money, you're learning how to lead your life. Time is the one thing we all have in equal measure. 24 hours a day. No more. No less. But the outcomes? Wildly different. Some build empires. Others barely make it to Friday. What's the difference? It's not intelligence. It's not talent. It's not even discipline at first. It's how fiercely you protect your time, because time is the only asset that once spent, you can't get back. The wealthy know this. That's why they don't let just anything or anyone claim their minutes. But most people, they treat time like a leftover. They give their best hours to everyone else's agenda, then wonder why there's nothing left for their goals. They say yes to every meeting. They check emails all day. They scroll social media during their most productive hours, and by evening, they're mentally bankrupt. Let me tell you something uncomfortable. If you don't own your calendar, someone else will. The market will. The media will. Your job will. Your friends will. Even strangers will. And slowly, your vision gets buried under the noise. You'll still be busy, but you'll no longer be building. Let me walk you through how to change that right now. Step 1. Identify your wealth windows. Every person has pockets of time where they're most alert, sharp, and focused. For some, it's early morning. For others, it's late at night. Whatever your rhythm is, find it. And once you do, block that time. These are your wealth windows. Guard them like gold. Don't let them get hijacked by errands, chores, or someone else's emergency. Because those sacred hours, that's where your future is forged. That's when you study a new investment strategy, build your side hustle, make sales calls, plan your 90-day wealth goals, create something that lives beyond your labor. That time is leverage. It's sacred. And it's non-negotiable. Step 2. Schedule it like a meeting. Don't just intend to work on your goals. Book it, like a meeting with your boss, like a doctor's appointment, like a non-refundable flight. Write it in your calendar, label it, color-code it. Name it something powerful like wealth block, freedom hour, future time. Treat it with the same respect you'd give any VIP appointment. Because guess what? Your future self is the most important client you'll ever serve. Step 3. Ruthlessly eliminate distractions. Here's where the real game begins. Distractions don't show up like thieves. They show up like friends. Notifications, pop-ups, pings, dings, quick questions, mindless clicks, comfortable loops. But every distraction costs you focus, and focus is your most profitable currency. So start trimming. Silence unnecessary notifications. Put your phone in another room. Use website blockers if needed. Shut the door. Tell people, I'm unavailable from 8 to 10 a.m. That's my building time. If that feels uncomfortable, good. That's your boundary getting stronger. Because the truth is, saying no to distractions is saying yes to your destiny. Step 4. Build a ritual around it. Don't just show up randomly to your wealth window. Create a ritual, a certain playlist, a specific beverage, a 5-minute review of your goals, a deep breath and a timer. You want your brain to associate that time with focus, creation, and growth. When that ritual becomes muscle memory, you enter what psychologists call flow. And flow is where magic happens. It's where hours feel like minutes, where progress becomes natural, where distractions dissolve. Most people never find flow, because they never sit still long enough for it to start. You will. Step 5. Audit weekly. Adjust honestly. At the end of each week, look at your calendar. Did I protect my wealth window? Did I let distractions in? Did I treat this seriously? What can I improve next week? Be honest, not judgmental, but real. Because mastery isn't about getting it perfect. It's about getting better, week after week. Let me give you a story. I worked with a client who said, "I want to build a business, but I never have time." We ran a simple audit. Turns out he spent 2.5 hours per day on YouTube and social media, another 90 minutes checking emails that weren't urgent, an hour a day processing tasks but never doing the important ones. So we flipped it, blocked 90 minutes every morning for building, cut his phone time in half, bathed his ritual in intention. 12 weeks later, business launched, first paying clients, confidence through the roof. His life didn't change because he got more time. It changed because he owned the time he already had. So here's your assignment. This week, choose a 2-hour window, just one, and label it your wealth window. During that time, build your plan, your product, your strategy, your value. Defend it. No exceptions, no excuses, because the difference between those who drift and those who dominate is how they treat their calendar. The wealthy don't just manage time, they master it. And when you learn to do the same, you don't just get rich, you get free. Here's something I wish someone told me sooner. You don't have to figure it all out by yourself. Most people try. They struggle in silence. They piece together advice from random blogs, YouTube videos, or social media reels. They try to build a financial life with nothing but second-hand wisdom and guesswork. And some make it, but most burn out, lose time, repeat costly mistakes, and start to wonder if wealth is just for someone else. But there's a better way, a faster way, a smarter way. It's called mentorship. And if you've never experienced the power of it, this might be the single biggest shift in your journey. Because here's the reality. A mentor can compress 10 years of mistakes into one meaningful conversation. Let me ask you something. Have you ever met someone who's just a few steps ahead of you? Someone who's already done what you're trying to do, already built what you dream about, already overcome the very struggle that's keeping you stuck? That person, they're a shortcut. They've got proof, process, and perspective. And when you get around them, when you listen, learn, ask, and absorb, your growth explodes. Not because you're smarter, but because you're no longer flying blind. What mentorship really is. Mentorship isn't about being someone's apprentice forever. It's not about waiting for a savior to rescue you, and it's definitely not about begging for favors. It's a mutual value exchange built on respect. You bring something to the table, even if it's just energy, effort, or fresh perspective. You offer help, you stay humble, you follow through, and in return, you gain access to someone's mental blueprint, their wisdom, their expensive lessons, already paid for. That's the real ROI. How to find a mentor, even if you're not connected. Most people assume mentorship is reserved for the elite. It's not. You don't need to meet a billionaire. You don't need to DM influencers. Start where you are. Look around. Who do you know that's good with money? Who owns a small business and has longevity? Who is debt-free, consistent, and intentional? Who speaks about money with clarity instead of chaos? They don't need to be flashy. They just need to be wise. Reach out. Ask to buy them coffee. Send a thoughtful email. Comment consistently on their content. Offer help on a project they care about. And here's the most important part. Don't ask for mentorship. Earn it. Bring value first. It could be helping them organize something, offering free creative work, introducing them to a useful tool or contact, showing up consistently without being needy. When they see you're invested, they'll open up. Mentors don't choose fans, they choose builders. The ripple effect of proximity. Being near people who think differently, who live with discipline, who've achieved what you admire, it rubs off on you. Their words echo in your mind. Their habits start to mirror in your day. Their standards become your new baseline. This is how the inner shift begins. It's one thing to read about wealth. It's another to observe it in motion. I once had a short lunch with a man who ran 3 successful companies. 1 hour. He told me one sentence I'll never forget. Don't build something that dies when you stop showing up. That was the day I shifted from income to assets. It was one sentence, but it changed everything. That's mentorship. It's not always formal, it's not always scheduled, but it always accelerates you. When you finally get that one conversation, don't waste it. Come prepared. Have your questions ready. Listen more than you speak. Don't try to impress. Try to absorb. Follow up with action, not just thanks. Because the best way to honor a mentor is to implement. Let them see your growth. Let your progress be the proof that you valued their time. That's how relationships grow deeper. And deeper relationships unlock deeper levels of insight, support, and connection. How mentorship builds mental discipline. There's one more thing mentorship gives you that most people overlook: psychological accountability. When you respect someone, you show up different. You stop making excuses. You level up your questions. You pay attention to detail. You track your progress. Because deep down, you don't want to let them down. And even deeper, you don't want to let yourself down anymore either. Mentorship raises your standard, not just of income, but of identity. One connection can change your trajectory. Let me say it again. One person, one conversation, one perspective can change everything. It doesn't take a network. It doesn't take access. It takes humility, initiative, follow through. You're not meant to do this alone. The greatest builders, creators, and wealth makers of all time, every single one had mentors. Warren Buffett had Benjamin Graham, Oprah had Maya Angelou, Jobs had Wozniak, even Kobe had MJ. So why not you? Final thought: stop waiting to be ready. Start searching for proximity, because when you align with those who've already won the battles you're still fighting, you don't just learn faster, you become someone faster. Someone who thinks like wealth, acts with intention, and multiplies their value through connection. That's what mentorship gives you, and it's yours to pursue. Close your eyes for a moment. Not yet. But when you do, I want you to picture something most people never stop to truly see. Your wealthy life. Not in vague terms, not just financial freedom, but in detail. What does your home look like? What time do you wake up? How do you feel walking into your workspace? Who are you helping, teaching, supporting? What are you building? What kind of decisions are you making? Calm, clear, strategic. Because here's the secret that most people miss. You cannot consistently build what you cannot clearly see. That's why so many people stay stuck. They hustle, they grind, they read books, but inside, their vision is a blur, and without a picture of the life they're building, they lose the motivation to keep building it. Let me tell you this plainly. Wealth is not just a strategy, it's a mental rehearsal. And the greatest tool to align your mind with your future is daily visualization. Your brain doesn't know the difference. This isn't fluff, it's neuroscience. When you vividly imagine something, your brain doesn't fully distinguish it from reality. The same regions of your mind light up, the same emotions get triggered, the same motivation systems activate, which means this: the more clearly and emotionally you visualize your desired financial life, the more your body, habits, and choices begin to align with it automatically. Visualization is a way of telling your subconscious, this is who I am now, act accordingly. And slowly, your daily decisions shift. You. Say no to the distraction. Say yes to the discipline. Delay gratification. Walk taller. Plan sharper. Move with intention. Because you're no longer reacting to life. You're responding to a vision. Create the picture with precision. So how do you do it? Start simple. Each morning, take 3 to 5 minutes. Sit still. Breathe deep. Close your eyes. Now begin to build the image, layer by layer. Picture the money in your accounts, the businesses or systems you've built, the home you've created, the peace you feel knowing you're in control, the impact you're having, the pride in your eyes, the calm in your heart, the strength in your step. See the environment, smell the air, hear the sounds, feel the emotions, make it real to your mind. And if you struggle at first, that's okay. You're rewiring a brain that's been trained to expect struggle, lack, and chaos. But repetition is power. Do it again tomorrow, and the next day. Soon, that vision becomes familiar, and what feels familiar feels safe. And what feels safe, your brain moves toward. That's the psychology of change. Link vision to action. This is where most people stop. They visualize and then go about their day the same way. Don't do that. At the end of your visualization, ask this one question. What's one thing I can do today to move closer to that life? Just one thing. And do it, not because you're desperate, but because you're aligned. One email, one pitch, one investment, one disciplined choice, one uncomfortable conversation. That's how vision becomes traction, not just something you see, but something you step into. Anchor your vision. When you drift, you will have hard days, moments of doubt, times when motivation disappears. That's normal. But when you've practiced visualization consistently, you always have an anchor, a mental picture of why you're doing this, of who you're becoming, of what's waiting for you on the other side of discomfort. You don't quit when you remember where you're going. I've had moments in my life where I was broke, stressed, and uncertain. But because I had built a habit of seeing my vision, I could hold on to something internal, even when everything external felt unstable. That's real power. Visualization makes wealth emotional. Most people try to think their way to wealth. But the truth is, emotion drives action. When your vision is vivid, when it's charged with emotion, you begin to feel your future. And when you feel it, you fight for it, you adjust for it, you stretch for it, you begin to act like it's already yours. Not with arrogance, but with alignment. You're not chasing, you're becoming. Final thought. Don't underestimate the power of 5 quiet minutes, because those 5 minutes, they shape the next 24 hours, which shape the next 90 days, which shape the next 5 years, which shape your entire financial legacy. So tomorrow morning, close your eyes, see it, feel it, believe it, then open your eyes and go build it. You've made it to the end. But this isn't the end of a video. This is the end of an illusion. The illusion that wealth is a mystery, that success is for the chosen few, that freedom is found outside of you. Now you know better. Now you know the truth. Wealth is not a destination. It's a daily direction, a set of thoughts, a rhythm of choices, a standard of how you treat your time, your energy, and your future. And the moment you take ownership of that, everything begins to change. Because now, you don't just spend money, you assign it. You don't just drift through the week, you design it. You don't just hope for success, you track, build, and align with it. This is how wealth is built. One clear goal at a time, one focused hour at a time, one smart decision at a time. And guess what? That power has been in your hands all along. So if something inside you shifted while watching this, if you saw yourself in a new light, then don't let it end here. Start your 90-day plan. Calculate your net worth. Visualize your life every morning. Track your wins every night. Guard your time. Cut the waste. Give your money a mission. And most of all, think like someone wealth is already chasing. Because it is. You just needed to slow down. Get clear. And take the wheel. Now it's yours. The path, the tools, the mindset. So go build what's already inside you. Because the one who masters time masters money, and the one who masters money masters themselves.